Welcome to the Agency Uplift Podcast, the podcast all about the unique experience of growing a digital agency, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the learnings. I'm your host, Sean Lang, agency owner of over 7 years and co-founder of Social Commerce Club. And today I'm joined by Tomás Reddy, co-founder of Your Lead Growth. They offer a customized team of Google Ads and HubSpot. Actually, I can't even read my notes here. They offer a customized team of people for Google Ads and HubSpot and conversion tracking experts, which are actually going to help you generate high quality leads. Tomás, sorry for butchering your intro there. How's it going?
All good, Sean. Thanks so much for having me. Super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, man, really looking forward to having you on. So first off, I'd love to just get into the origin story a little bit. So why don't you tell us first a little bit about what you do at Your Lead Growth, and then I'd love to hear about how that came to be.
So at Your Lead Growth, basically what we do is we sort of fill the gap between agencies or small businesses that are generating leads that are sort of unqualified, and we integrate them with their CRM. So we can actually be generating leads that are actually more high qualified and actually generating something for the business, as opposed to just filling out like a submit form. We're going towards people that are actually either becoming marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, opportunities, or actual close contracts for that client.
Very, very cool. And my next question is always, what made you want to start an agency in the first place? Because not everyone's first idea after learning how to succeed in the world of marketing is to start their own agency.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was never really fully in my plans to start an agency. It just sort of happened on the fly, I would say. So I'd been working for other agencies for a few years and decided I wanted to start working freelance. So um, I was working freelance for a couple of years and then just gradually started making connections with other colleagues and started finding an opportunity for actually like getting my own clients instead of working for other clients. And that slowly started building into having an agency, and that's sort of where we are today.
Very interesting. So what's your kind of team makeup currently?
So right now it's three of us that are sort of partners. And then we have about two full-time media buyers and some content strategists. And then we have a project manager that sort of keeps us in check and a little bit organized. Because as you probably know, running an agency, it sort of goes all over the place, and you're usually pretty scatterbrained, and you need somebody to sort of organize you. So I love
Yeah,
our project manager a lot.
that's very, very true. I mean, my experience with running an agency and then also with talking to a lot of other people who run agencies is it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Really. There's always things popping up, and if you don't really have a super consistent uh, system in place or a way to sort of track things or have different responsibilities delegated or accountabilities, then you're basically just every single day you're just trying to hit them down and not knock things down one at a time, and hope that it all doesn't just sort of pop up at the same time when you're not able to deal with it. Like, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean that's spot on for sure. Yeah, I feel like you're always like you have like this issue pop up and it's like crisis mode, and like we have to like resolve this as soon as possible, and like you're dedicating all your time to like trying to fix that, and then like as soon as you're like wrapping that up, boom, something else pops up and you have to like divert your attention there. So that's definitely one of the main struggles that I have personally, because and also like this is like your baby, something that like I said, I started working freelance and then slowly started building this agency. So I'm definitely very meticulous and like to have everything in order, and like it's hard because you want to balance like not micromanaging and not like being everywhere, but at the same time you want to have like your baby be perfect. So like you want to be on top of everything and make sure that everything's working up to speed and like how you envision everything.
Yeah, I find that there's constantly a tension between or trying to maintain balance between squeezing things too hard and also letting them go, and you kind of need to find this sort of middle ground in between the two, because you can't fully let go unless you know that somebody else is really, really taking care of that. But you also can't squeeze it too hard because your team needs to be able to actually handle things as well. And if you're the one that's problem solving and putting out all the fires all the time, then they just get used to you saving the day every single time. And then, of course, guess what? You're just going to be doing that as a full-time job.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that I've started noticing a lot more recently, that like you don't want things to sort of break or not work properly, but you sort of have to let things sort of take their course and then take measures so that other people can correct those issues instead of trying to correct every issue yourself. So that when that happens again, you're not the one that's responsible for like correcting that issue, but somebody else can. And I think that sort of independence and sort of responsibility that you lay on other people is fundamental for laying sort of the environment and the sort of how do you say it? Uh sort of the yeah, sort of the atmosphere and the culture that you want to provide for your agency that so small agencies, like you have to be a go-getter, you have to sort of be a problem solver, you have to be at just like I have to be at a million places at the same time, the people that work under me have to be at a million places at the same time as well.
Mhm.
So it's good to sort of help them build those skills up more as well and not always have to depend on me jumping in.
Absolutely. Yeah, you really want to build a culture of ownership and give people opportunities to succeed, which also means that you kind of have to be okay with the occasional failure as well, because that's generally the best way that people learn is by, oh, when I did that, that didn't work. Okay, I'm never going to do that again. But yeah, it can be very, very difficult, and that's why I refer to the metaphor of like squeezing too hard. You actually have to be okay with some level of or some amount of eggs getting broken
Yeah, yeah,
in that regard.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And just yeah, to touch on that point, like you always sort of hear about these big corporations, how they're always drilling like company culture and like values, and whenever you're just like working for another agency or something, you kind of sort of brush that off and don't really find it maybe as important as once you're actually running the agency and you understand that everything that you do is fundamental for establishing that culture in your company and letting people know like what's right or what's wrong to do within the agency. And I'm a strong believer that you have to fail to actually triumph. So that's why it's a little bit a lot of anxiety at the beginning of like letting go and letting other people fail and letting them fix their issues. But in the long run, I think that's fundamental, and it also lets people know that all right, we're not that uptight at this agency. Like you're allowed to make mistakes, but you just have to learn from them and correct them in the long run.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really, really smart approach. And I love that you brought up core values. If you and anyone have listened to any more of my episodes on this podcast, I like to talk about core values a lot. They're super, super critical, and they're the DNA of your agency, what makes it not only unique, but also gives it that North Star. But furthermore, if and when you need to actually give some of that trust and sort of give more rope length, more slack in order for people to actually experiment and try to add value in their own way. How are you going to know that they're going to approach it correctly or the way that you would want to? And the way that you're going to know is, well, do we have a defined company culture? Do we have core values? Because those core values, in my mind, is kind of like the DNA of the organism. Like it's basically the blueprint for life. So if this thing's going to keep growing, at least we know that it's going to grow in a predictable way because everybody knows exactly how we're going to approach thinking about this and executing on that and doing this and doing that. Versus if you're just like, we are a soulless company. All we do is we get work done. We don't know what we believe. Here, go do something. I hope it works out. Like that's not going to work for you at all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have been some of the most surprising things so far in your agency journey? Because when you start an agency, you really don't know what to expect. And I feel like every week is a completely new experience. But what have been some of the biggest surprises for you so far?
Yeah, I guess the biggest surprises are just sort of managing clients. Um, you have a huge array of different types of clients. And sometimes like I'm always usually like a pessimist with clients. Like I always think there's always way more than we can do, like way better results that we can deliver, even though we're already like delivering good results. And I'm always surprised when those clients are like, you go into a client meeting and they're like, hey, you guys have been crushing it. Like, I love the work you've been doing. Like, we've grown so much these past few months. That's thanks to you. And I'm like, oh, like, all right, thanks. Like, yeah, I really appreciate it. Was not maybe expecting that. And then also managing other clients, which maybe don't have like as much patience, where like, I don't know, a lot of the work that we do is Google Ads, which takes time at the beginning, especially if it's lead generation as opposed to e-commerce. and you sort of grow used to the idea that you usually have like a 2-3 week buffer where like
Hmm.
you're launching and you have that, and some clients expect results from like day one, and managing that I think is very stressful and like surprising, because you sort of get used to a type of client where like they understand that, all right, these things take time. And yeah, that's been a big surprise for me, I think.
That makes sense. And I mean, I think that that probably is going to resonate with a lot of people listening now. Resonates with me for sure. At the end of the day, like every client is different because every person is different. And one thing that I learned over the years is if you leave things undefined or l- don't necessarily set expectations and also continually reinforce those expectations, clients can fill in the blanks and start to add things there because you didn't add the expectation. So one thing that we started to do when we realized that not every single client that we onboarded was coming in with the same expectations is we started to kind of architect the not just the client onboarding journey from the time that they signed on, but even like what happens before they sign on. What have we communicated during the sales process and up until they sign the contract, and then right afterwards. And one thing that we realized, and there's some one of these like natural laws of the universe type of thing, which is like people need to hear something 7 times in order for them to actually take it seriously. And when I initially heard this, it was in relation to managing a team. Like your team needs to hear it from you 7 times before they their ears prick up and they go, "Oh, I guess this is important." But that's a team. A team is just people. Your clients are also people as well. So it begs the reason that your clients also need to hear things many, many times as well. So what we started to do was in the sales process, we created a client onboarding document that basically shows what the onboarding process and the setup process and basically the first couple months after signing look like. And we made sure that clients during the or prospects during the sales process would see that, and then after seeing and understanding that, they're saying, yes, I want to work with you. And then so after they signed the contract, we were showing that to them again. And then in the kickoff call, we were reviewing that again. And we were just constantly being like, so remember, this is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go. So that you're trying to just basically erase any ability for the client to fill in the gaps with their own expectations, because if you haven't set those expectations, well, you're going to have to live up to theirs now, and they're not always going to be possible, which is which is a problem, right? So just something that really really worked for us.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, always setting expectations is one of the goals of whenever you're onboarding a client, but it can be tricky sometimes for sure.
It can be super super tricky. Lessons learned over many many years. What have been some really big learnings that you've had so far in your agency journey?
Um, some big learnings that we've had, I would say that so the first client that I signed for my agency was up until recently what would have been considered our biggest client. And that one lasted for about 2 years. So that first client was like a huge contract, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like this agency thing is gonna be super easy. Like I already got like a client that is generating like good amount for me. Like it's gonna be like smooth sailing from here on out." And then like the next 8 clients that we generated were about 25% of the amount that that client generated. So I thought like I basically just, I would say, got lucky with that first client. Like signing a client that big from the get go, I don't think is that expected. Um, and the biggest learning that I got was that you sort of have to scale a little bit more granularly. So start with like rates that are a little bit lower, get a few clients like that, then raise your prices, get some more clients like that, and then keep going like that until you're at your sweet spot. But yeah, I would say like scaling and like managing expectations, and also like whenever we launched, like in our client agreement, we would have like an agreement where we would have like a monthly meeting with our client, and we were like, all right, we're like this client's good with like meeting once a month, like that's just how it's gonna be with all clients. And that's totally not the case. Like, you have a bunch of clients that want like weekly meetings, some that want like bi-weekly. And at first we were a bit stubborn with that since in our agreement we had decided on like monthly meetings. But I would say like that's not realistic at all. You really have to adapt to what your clients want or need. Um, and again, that's also sort of a huge learning that I've had. So whenever I started the agency, my goal was to like promote services that I offered. And now my mindset has changed a little bit. It's more trying to solve problems that clients have. And I think that change in mindset has been huge because um, nobody really cares what you have to sell, like just like randomly. People have like needs, and you have to find that need and sort of help the client fulfill that need. And I think that's the biggest thing that you can do at the beginning is to understand that and understand how you can help others instead of how you can sell your services.
At the end of the day, yeah, at the end of the day, it's about solving a problem. It's about solving a need for sure. What do you do in situations where a client or a prospect have a problem that you'd love to solve, but it's actually just not something that your agency does or that anybody within the agency does? What do you do with those situations?
Yeah, that's a difficult situation. I mean, luckily, I've been able to grow a pretty good network in the past few years. So typically, like, I never take on a client that I can't like do. Like, even if they're looking specifically for like something Google Ads or CRM related, and I know that I can't do it, it's gonna be a waste of my time to take it on and like try and like solve it in the future. Just because I know that's not within my capabilities right now, and right now I need to work with what I've got, you know? So typically what I try to do is, offer them like, refer them to somebody that I know that would be able to do it, and in the worst case scenario, just tell them like, "Hey, like, I love, like, the product or the service that you guys have, but I just don't think we're a great fit for you, and wish you the best of luck." But that's the worst case scenario,
Worst
obviously.
case scenario is that. Best case scenario is you're handing them off to someone who you know they can solve that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's why it's really important, really, really important to just build relationships and network with other agencies. I mean, I think that when you first start out, it can be really common to feel like other agencies are competition, but at the end of the day, it's just a support network. And what better way to still improve your reputation with different clients by saying I can't help you, but I can help you by handing you off to somebody who can actually help you. Like I think that's always the ultimate. That's the ultimate win. And then they're always going to think of you as someone who still indirectly solved their problem, just not you didn't do it hands on. You just handed them off to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love that also because it also lets you build even better relations with these other agencies. Because I mean, if you refer them work, that's gonna leave you in good eyes and with them. Um, but also like clients, like maybe they weren't a good fit for you, but they'll remember that you still help them out. Like especially like I don't recommend like just anyone. Like I have good referrals that will actually get good work done. So once they notice that, oh, hey, this guy that I met like a while ago, like didn't try to just sell me anything. He sent me to somebody else that actually has been solving that huge problem for us. Maybe they have like another network of other small business owners that maybe I could fulfill their needs. So in the future, that could be a referral that's always like the referrals are always like the goal, because that's when you know you're helping people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Wise words right there. So one thing that most agency owners mention to me as something that they're consistently working on is new business acquisition. How do you acquire new business?
Yeah, that's a difficult thing to navigate at this point. So we had been doing LinkedIn outreach for a long time, um, and I think that recently it's gotten a little bit oversaturated.
Hmm.
Um, just because I don't know if you go into LinkedIn now, like everyone's writing you, like sending you a message asking you for something. But a tool that I found really beneficial is so as I mentioned before getting into agency work, I was working as a freelancer for a number of years, and during that time, I was lucky enough to produce some good work for a lot of clients, and that allowed me to build a great profile on a platform called Upwork that I use a lot. Um, so I was able to get like I've accrued a number of hours on that platform, and luckily I've always had like 100% job success. meaning all of my clients have rated me 5 stars. All of my clients have given me feedback that they've had a great experience. So that's given me a lot of that's built a lot of rapport for me on Upwork. So I've translated that over to using that profile to do some prospecting and find new clients through there, and that's been super helpful these past few months.
That's really, really interesting because I've heard in the past, and I've talked to agency owners in the past who have a very, very similar story. And actually, I'd kind of forgotten about that because I wasn't sure if that still worked. But the fact that that's still a viable option, um, I think that a lot of agency owners' ears just pricked up again and said, "Oh, I have an Upwork account. I haven't used it in forever." But that's great. So, would you mind just high level walking us through kind of what that looks like? Like, how do you have your profile set up for that?
um, so how do I have my profile set up for?
Is it still set up as if you're a freelancer and then they can invite you to do jobs, but then you can actually help them in a more meaningful way at the end of the conversation kind of thing?
Yeah. So Upwork actually has two options. One is like the individual freelancer option and the agency option. In my experience, I haven't found a lot of success with the agency option
Hmm.
just because I don't know. It's
It's not
not
what the
really,
platform was built
yeah,
for,
it's not
really.
what it's built for. Yeah. So basically what I do is I search for jobs on Upwork because, people are posting jobs there. And I have my profile built for sort of what I used to do for freelancer, and then I have a different profile under the same structure. So you can build like different profiles, not profile like account, but profile like this profile is for analytics, this profile is for Google Ads. So I have a Google Ads profile set up for my agency,
Got it.
and there what I do is I search for jobs using specific criteria that apply to my agency, and I reach out to them and tell them, "Hey, like, just took a look at your company. This is what I would do if I was in charge of it, and I run a Google Ads agency that I think could really help you, or I run a CRM agency that I think could really help you out." And the good thing about Upwork is that they're already sort of outlining what their problem is. So it's super easy to solve it. So they're telling you like, "Hey, we are an e-commerce business shipping shoes out of Vancouver. We've been doing great on Meta ads, but on Google ads, we've only been able to achieve like a 1.5 ROAS. How do you think you could solve that?" And then I can very clearly outline the sort of strategy that I would take with their account and then invite them to chat further. And that's been super successful for me, I would say.
Really cool. Oh, that's super, super actionable. Thanks so much for sharing that. That's great. I'm gonna look into that for myself as well. That's really cool. Um, back to your overall agency journey. So the agency has been around for just over 2 years at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So a lot can happen in 2 years. How has the agency changed since you started it? What are like the biggest ways that it's changed?
Oof. Yeah, it's changed so much. So I would say the main change that's happened is that the structural change. So whenever I launched, it was just sort of my idea, and it was sort of me thinking that I could just translate my freelance work into an agency, and then um, my goal was to like get as much work as possible and like have like 80 hour weeks, and then once I'm, like, super booked up, I can, like, hire somebody that can help me, like, part-time with, like, some clients, and then after, like, getting, like, 4 clients, I can just stop working, and I'll have, like, people, like, running these clients for me, and I realized very quickly, like, that is not never gonna happen, so I realized, first of all, like, I can't do this alone, like, I'm gonna need at least a partner, luckily, I have 2 partners right now that I can rely on, and that's great because dealing with agency life, I have like 8 crises a week where I'm
Yep.
like,
Yep.
everything's gonna go down the drain, like, I'm freaking out, and they're like, "Dude, calm down, like, we're all good, like, that client just said that they need an extra report this week," like, something little, I'll be freaking out, and they sort of, like, bring me back down to earth, and also, like, having them there to, like, rely on has been great, but also to sort of start planning, like, how to start building out the teams because we've been, lucky enough to have some great hires these past couple of months, at least these last 6 months specifically, we've had some great hires. So just building that structure and sort of understanding, like, you're never gonna stop working, you know? Like, you just have to dedicate your time to different things and focus on things that really need your time and attention.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've all been fed this idea at one point or another of, you build it to this point and then you just kind of like step aside and you let this thing run itself and you're going to be sipping Mai Tais on the beach. And that can happen, but there's a serious amount of foundational work that you have to put in. And the question that I ask myself at the end of the day, like, would I even be happy with that? Like, I actually, I love the act of building an agency and I love the act of just the work to keep it afloat. And I look back at some of my most stressful times when, there was 5 crises every single day. And in those times, like it felt like life or death. But now when I look back at them, I kind of look back at them with kind of like, ah, that was nice. Like I was doing something that was really, really exciting. And it's kind of like looking back at your golden years or whatever, where you're like, we were doing some crazy stuff. I can't believe we did that. And we came out on the other side and we learned this and we thought we were going to die and we didn't. And it was awesome. So I think at the end of the day, this sort of idea that's been sold to us of like, uh, don't work in the agency, work on the agency or whatever is great. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can step out before it's not really your thing anymore. And I think that you need to have your hands on it at some point in some sort of way. Your fingerprints need to be on it. It's still part of your DNA because it's your agency. I mean, that's how I feel anyway. Maybe other people are listening and they're sipping their Mai Tai on the beach right now and they're like, Sean, you got it all wrong. But
Yeah, but even now that I've been working with the agency for 2 years, a little bit longer, I don't even wanna be drinking Mai Tais on the beach anymore, you know? Like, now, like, this has become, like, a passion project of mine where it's like,
Mhm.
I love building out the agency, like, I love building out the structure and growing the agency and, ultimately being able to build like, a workplace where other people will be happy to work as well, and I also love building that sort of culture with, like, my employees where it's like, they like to work with me, like, I like to work with them, like, they're not just rolling in and, like, clocking in the hours and getting out, but make it a pleasurable experience for everyone involved. And then also, like, yeah, I'll never be able to get my fingerprints off the final product. That's just never gonna happen.
You're a classic agency founder. I absolutely love it. So let's point the camera right back at your lead growth. When you're pitching your lead growth to clients, like what is the pitch in general? Pretend that I'm a prospect. Pitch me right now.
Oof. Um, yeah, so that takes me back to the point that I was saying before about, understanding their pain points and understanding what they need. I have a pretty relaxed pitch, I would say. I'm not like desperately trying to sell the client. I'm just desperately trying to help them solve a problem, even if I'm not the one that solves it for them. That's the sort of method that I like to take. So they'll be telling me like, "Hey, like I have this issue." I was like, "Hey, even if you don't hire me to do this, like you need to like solve this before you solve that. Like make sure that you do these things. Again, like you don't have to hire me, just like take it into consideration because you think this thing might not be a big deal right now, but it's going to be a huge pain in like 3 years. So just make sure you take that into consideration. And then for the main thing that you were asking me about, like, yeah, I could definitely help you with that. These are sort of our rates, but that's sort of the process. I don't know if that's answered your question, but that's
No,
sort of
I love that. It's very similar to how I like to approach things as well, where we're not really selling, we're just solving, right? And if you solve problems, if you solve people's problems, then good things will happen. I think at the end of the day, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 'cause, for a while, I like for, like, 2 or 3 months, I tried using this process of, like, listening to, like, sales, like, instructors on, like, different techniques that you should take to sell people and, like, using certain diction and using certain, like, verbiage, and that is does not work for me at all. Like, I just need to, like, help them solve a problem, and then as long as I can, like, give them a solution to a problem they have, then it's in their hands whether they want to hire me or not, but I feel like I've done my part at least.
Absolutely. I love that. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
Um, I guess something that I find interesting is how I am based in Argentina, but all of my clients are sort of in North America, and how I navigate that sort of bilingual aspect of managing all of my team in Spanish, but working with all clients in English. I think that's an interesting.
That's super interesting. So let's pull on that thread real quick. So how did that come to be? Are you from Argentina or are you from someplace in North America?
Yeah, I'm from Argentina. I went to university in the United States, but then after university, I came right back to Argentina. And then yeah, here I sort of worked for an agency based in Canada. So I've always been sort of working in English. But then in those jobs, I've also built great relationships with other colleagues that are in sort of South America. So I've always had that great sort of work relationship with people from Argentina or other South American countries, and also that sort of client facing opportunity to work with clients in the United States. So I've sort of tried to combine both.
That's really, really cool. I mean, I could talk to you for half an hour more just about that, but we are at the end of our journey. Tomas, it's been fantastic having you on the podcast. Where can people find out more about you and your lead growth?
Yeah, if anybody wants to email me, my email is tomas@yourleadgrowth.com, or you can also check out our website at yourleadgrowth.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Sean. Appreciate it.